A study investigating online attacks and disinformation against female political candidates in 2019 found that nobody got it worse than then-Senator Kamala Harris while seeking the Democrats' presidential nomination. And minutes after Harris emerged as the presumptive Democratic nominee this week, the old vitriolic posts resurfaced. Nina Jankowicz, the leader of that study, is joining me right now. Nina's co-founder and CEO of the American Sunlight Project. And I'm glad you're here, Nina, because I want to ask you, after looking at this 5 years ago when you started, how bad was it then and how bad is it now?
You know, that is a really interesting question, Alex, because since 2020, when we conducted this study, the social media platforms have largely cut off access to researchers. So while a couple of years ago I might have been able to give you a comparative statistic, right now we're totally in the dark about how bad this is because CEOs like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg aren't letting researchers look at the harms that are happening on their platforms. But I can tell you anecdotally that from the minute that President Biden endorsed Vice President Harris for her run for the presidency, we saw the old narratives that we saw in 2020 again burgeoning in their discussion online.
That's extraordinary that you are very much aware of what's going on, but you have no way to access sort of aggregate ways to analyze it. That's fascinating and begs for another discussion. But do you think we are talking about voters, or about bots? Who would be behind attacks and disinformation campaigns, even though you may not know right now what happened back in 2019?
Yeah, so sadly, I think a lot of this is American voters. Unfortunately, misogyny is something that's pretty endemic to our society. And that means that people are all too happy to engage with it. We also see that influencers and even candidates for office and officials themselves are engaging with these misogynistic and sometimes racist narratives. And that gives the indication to normal people that all of this is okay. Now, I wouldn't say that it's unlikely that bots are involved. There's probably some inauthentic amplification there, but again, I don't have the data right now in front of me. I can tell you that our foreign adversaries have been amplifying this rhetoric since last weekend and amplified it back in 2020 as well. When you say foreign adversaries, do you want to name names? Yeah, certainly Russia has been very happy to engage in misogynistic and racist rhetoric against Kamala Harris before, and I wouldn't be surprised if we also saw China doing the same thing. So the vice president's online fan base, nicknamed the K-Hive, that was named back in 2017, in fact, by MSNBC's Joy Reid, it had a resurgence after the Trump-Biden debate in June. Then VP Harris had been trending on X in early July, but the Hive was quick to respond this week to the derogatory posts they were seeing. They flooded the zone with favorable Harris memes and videos. And is this Nina, if not the most effective way to fight disinformation? Well, it's certainly one of the best ways, and I think it's also really heartening and hopeful to see women primarily retaking the narrative for Vice President Harris, just like they did for Taylor Swift when deepfake pornography was trending of her back in January. Swifties flooded social media and Twitter to make sure that that stuff was depressed in the algorithm. I think it's really interesting and savvy to see Kamala Harris's supporters doing the very same thing right now. Can I ask you quickly if there's an appetite among social media companies to help users at all try to avoid false and misleading content like the attack videos? I mean, you're not getting the information as a researcher, but are you getting any sense that companies are being responsible that way? No, I don't think they are being responsible. The entire political climate as we head into November has been set up to say that any content moderation on social media platforms is akin to censorship. Of course, that is false, but the social media platforms are scared to be seen as censoring content. And so by and large, the sort of safeguards that we saw in 2020 do not exist today. Okay. Nina Jankowicz, it's a sobering conversation. We'll have you back, though, for more. Thank you.